Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one-stop podcast for students, professionals, parents and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career guidance and career mentoring. Please welcome your host Dr. S.B. Mishra to the show and happy listening.
Welcome everyone to our new episode along with Mr. Krishna Boddu, our regular speaker on the podcast. Very happy to have you here today, Mr. Krishna, to discuss one more very important aspect of career planning. And in fact, today's discussion is not just about career planning with respect to just the students, but it encompasses a much larger target audience, which is going beyond just the student and looking at also the professionals who are at different stages of their life. And to start the conversation, I will read out a quote by Anthony Robbins. It says, "Clarity is power. The more clear you are by exactly what you want, the more your brain knows how to get there. Know the specific results you want to be fulfilled." And just to add to that, what comes to my mind is that if we look around, the minuscule percentage of people are extremely successful, and a large part of the population are either struggling or in a mediocre level of their achievement in their lives. So what comes to my mind is that, of course, to be successful, I think you need to have so many qualities. Is it true that, can we take it for granted that apart from all those qualities, I think one is more successful because he or she is having a much better clarity of thought process, and how one can inculcate those qualities in one's life at any stage, irrespective of the stage or age of that person. So I would like to open the conversation with that thought. Over to you, Mr. Ramakrishna, for your inputs.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mishra ji, for that wonderful quote. And I think this is definitely one of the very good topic and need of the hour. Because a lot of us, we take things for granted. We take many aspects for granted most of the time, especially the youngsters. They think that they deserve everything in this world, which is good, but you don't work for it, then how you get it? So not getting into the nitty-gritties is a big challenge. So absolutely, having clarity of thought, having clarity, that picking up that as a topic, I think it is really nice. So let's look at it from a perspective. So I would like to kind of bring in an analogy of what are the two most important days of your life. Typically, if you ask, it can be to anybody, any age group, and definitely not a toddler or a very primary school student. And of course, they will have their own answer, but relatively. So every one of us, as a student, as a youngster, as a grown-up adult, or as an a senior citizen, if you want to call it that way, the old elderly people, each one of us will have different answers. And I've been asking this question in many forums at all age groups. I've been part of those, a lot of trainings, workshops, and all. I keep asking these questions. to put things into context when something relevant arises. One common answer I get is our birthday is one of the most important day. Now, the second most important day, when I ask them, they come up with saying that, no, when I passed out my 10th grade, when I got married, or when I got my first salary, or when we had our first child, or, depending on various, some kids came up and said that, no, I was so happy when India won a specific match over, the other country. Everybody has their own. So definitely the day we are born is one of the most important day, and I respect the other days' importance in each one of our lives. That's perfectly fine. But from the context of this topic, let's understand the first most important day can be our birthday, but the second most important day has to be, ideally, why are we here on this planet? What is the purpose of our life? That is the fundamental question. If that is answered, then I think we have a lot of clarity in our life. Now, it doesn't have to be limited to only career planning, though the platform on here we are discussing is more related to career. But of course, career is associated and interlinked with other facets of our life. Career is only one facet, the important aspect of our lives. So, having said that, if we can figure out the purpose of our life, that will become the second most important day of our life. So just to put that into context, the day we are born, that is the first most important day. The day when we know the purpose of this life, and I'm not talking about, a spiritual purpose or anything as such. Now, this is purely the practical life. What am I going to do with this life? Now, the question is, the answer to this question could change between age groups. Now, you go and ask this question to a toddler or a primary school, probably for them to understand the question itself is difficult. To a certain degree, you will have to explain it in their own language or at their level. But if you go and ask this question to a secondary school or a senior secondary school, they will relate to it. Probably they would have spent few years of their education. And you go and ask a youngster who just completed their education and so on, they may find it more relative. But you go and ask a person who's in their mid-careers, post 30s, 30 plus, you go and ask, they will give you, very interesting answers. And one common answer is, they haven't had an opportunity to ask this question to themselves. They were just in the flow. I finished my education, I got a campus placement, or I got a job, I got married, I started, my family, I bought a car, I bought a house on, loan and all that. And it's rolling. Life is rolling just like that. But is that your purpose? Because each one of us are here to, they call it, it's not on a lighter note, eating, sleeping, and mating. Those are the natural qualities of any species. It will happen automatically. But that is not the purpose. Of course, that is a responsibility as a human being, if you want to look at it that way. But what is beyond that? What is your purpose? So the purpose, again, I come back and, remind you, it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to only your career. What is your purpose? The larger purpose of your life that you're trying to solve. In that process, career plays a key role. What is it you're going to do with your life? Career plays a key role. And at the same time, other facets, your financial, aspects, your relationships, your growth from a knowledge standpoint, your investment in your learning, all that will come into play. So if we all can start asking this question to our young children as early as they get into that, I always take the 6th or 7th grade onwards. If we can start asking them, what do you think? I mean, let's not ask them, what is the purpose of your life? Let's ask them, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do in your life? And let's not limit their thought only for studies or academics. Let them think beyond. Of course, academics and career goals are takes a larger portion and a lion's share of our lives, no doubt about it. So now if we know that purpose, if we have that clarity of understanding that we need to, have that very important question answered. If that is answered, then I think the rest becomes easy, right? It's basically, figuring out on, you want to go on a holiday, the first question to be answered, where you want to go. The destination is answered. And then how to go, what to plan, what to do, all comes, later on. But if you don't know where to go, if you don't have clarity of thought that what is the purpose of your life, what is that you want to do with your life, then I think rest all is either you get into the flow. It's simply called as a herd mentality. Just, get to the flow, or simply let life happen to you. You are not making it happen. Of course, each one of us are destined to have certain life. No doubt about it. Some will, make it, fulfilling, rewarding. Some will kind of just live that, drag their foot, all that is going to happen. So it's very important to find out the purpose. What do we want to do with our life to begin with? Like I said, as early as possible, this thought to be injected in our youngsters' mind. Of course, over a period of time, they might figure out, some may figure out at the age of 11, some may figure out at the age of 60. I mean, that is not, purely in our hand. That's what we see people, a 9th grade school going boy having his own company, and a 60-plus-year-old person starting his own, becoming an entrepreneur at that age. We hear a lot of stories around the world, isn't it? And another gentleman started his journey, his spiritual journey at the age of 60, and within 7-8 years, have created a lot of movement across the world within 7 to 8 years time. So all those 60 years, probably he was preparing himself for that key 7 to 8 years to meet that purpose. So that's very important. It is not, there is no restriction. Age is not a barrier here. But that clarity of thought, if someone has got, some will achieve at the age of, achieve that at the age of 15, 20, 25, depending. So that's very important. And the next important aspect to have that clarity of, thought, clarity in life, in any facet. How do you see success and happiness definition changes from person to person? The way I look at success, the things keep me happy may not be applicable to you. Maybe there could be similarities, but definitely they're not same. So have you ever tried defining what is happiness according to you? What makes you happy? What keeps you happy? And what do you consider success? Now, success, does not mean securing, a top rank in JEE, or getting a campus placement with the highest pay package. How do you define it? Ongoing. And these are milestones. What I just mentioned are milestones. So if we can define success and what keeps us happy and tie them to the goals, what you want to become, what you want to do with your life. Okay, you wish you want to do, some X with your life, but does that keep you happy? Do you consider that as a success? These have to go hand in hand. Then I think you are super clear, you have super clarity in your life, and then you can plan it out. Now let's take an example. We ask this question to what is the purpose? What do you do? What do you want to do with your life? We ask this question to a 6th or a 7th grader. typical answer, a sixth or a seventh grader will say, because they're already 6 to 7 years or over 7 years into academics. They say, sir, getting into good institutions like IITs or NITs or these kind of things, is that what I want to do? Then you go and probe further. That's an academics, that's an education that path you want to sail through. But what will you do after that? Well, sir, I really don't know. My parents will decide for that me, or I'll check with my teachers. There could be some different random answers, but continuously push that boy or a girl, keep probing with this question. So they will come out eventually in 6 months or 1 year or in a month for that matter. Now you go and ask a youngster, a 23, 24-year-old who kind of completed academics to up until the post-graduation level. So, what do you want to do with your life? What's the purpose of your life? Getting placed in some company or in a job is what I look for. And that's your next major milestone you're looking for. But what you want to do with that? Now you did a computer engineering as a course. Now you want to seek an employment with an IT company, obviously, and you want to be a programmer or a developer, whatever. But what do you want to do with it? Because there are lakhs of people who get the same job, right? Have you ever thought about what keeps you happy? What makes you happy? How do you define your success? Getting a job in one of those Fortune 100 companies makes you happy and you consider that as a success, fine. But make sure that it keeps you happy also, right? And is that what you want to achieve? So this is how, if we can, look at our youngsters, students, and all of us. Maybe you go and ask for a mid-career or a middle-aged, person who's 30 plus, early 40s, and you go and ask, what is the purpose of your life? And I guarantee you, more than 75% of them have not figured out what is the purpose of their life. And this is not me saying this. This is how it's been, researched and analyzed. More than 75% of us have not figured out what is the purpose of their life. Probably by the time you started asking this question, it was too late. You have come too far. But from my perspective, never better than later. Okay, you do it, even at the 40s or 60s, which is perfectly fine. But at least the rest of the life you live happily. You, you see yourself, successful. So that's how I think we can put this into context. I know it was a little longer, explanation or representation, but I will turn it over back to you, Mishra ji. I hope this makes sense and it resonates with the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you have elaborated in your answer, I think there are different ways to look at it. One should not get confused with success in academic life or in career with the happiness, because the ultimate happiness can be actually driven through the purpose of life, which you really rightly pointed out. So one should not stop at a particular location with respect to achieving certain milestones of academic importance or in terms of the career importance. So one has to continuously look for this answer, and I know it is very difficult to put a template of finding the purpose of life. I think one has to keep asking this. Probably one has to keep certain amount of time every day to spend on own and do a lot of introspection, and that is the time probably one can spend time in terms of thinking about the purpose of life. So my next question based on that is that while we do understand that majority of the people, not just India, probably everywhere, will actually find it difficult to really define their purpose of life. And there is no a book, there is no method which can be really said that, okay, you just follow that. So what are the basic things one can think of as different types of processes to search for this purpose of life, which can be easily understood and can be adopted not just for people who are in the school, high school, but also slightly elder people who can also take it as a process. And you rightly mentioned that it's never really too late to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would be your advice on that?
Yeah, so I think you already actually put that answer before asking me the question itself. There is no one single process, there is no one single template by which you can find an answer. This is not a science, to put it in a formula or to prove it to everybody. That's how I looked at it. Okay, so this is going to be relatively subjective from person to person, but the question remains objective for all of us, irrespective of our age group. But the answer will be subjective. The process or the procedure which we use to answer it, which is definitely subjective. It cannot be, templatized for all of us. That much, I can, tell you. Now, but still, how do we get close to it? Now, if you want to help somebody who really doesn't have a clue about it, how can you really help? So going back to the discussion few minutes back, if you look at what keeps you happy, write down the top 3, top 5 things that keeps you happy, that makes you happy, right? So again, happiness, watching a movie on Netflix or watching a web series on Netflix, maybe it will give you a good entertainment, you are happy. But is that what you want to do for your entire life? Definitely not. I'm not talking about your entertainment related happiness, but your life, your soul, when will it be happy? Okay, because if you look at career is having a lion's share in our life. Whatever we do for our living, whatever we do for our earning, or whatever you do for your career, that occupies at least 12 to 14 hours of your time every day, either directly or indirectly, actively or passively. We are not just talking about how many hours you spend at office or how many hours you spend at work. We are talking about your brain engaging into that activity even when you are not at work. Your brain constantly thinks about what to do tomorrow, how to answer that email, how will I defend this situation in front of my boss or in front of my consumers or in front of my customers, whatsoever it is. So almost like 12 to 14 hours, in some cases even more than that, we are occupied in our careers, in our day-to-day life. So that portion, what do you want to do? Because that is the most time you spend. Of course, you have family time, you have entertainment time, you have social time, you have to have time for your, hobbies or whatever you want to call it, your relaxation and all that. But majorly, the 12 to 14 hours, what do you want to do? So by doing what, I'm trying to get to the next level of it. I'm drilling it down. I mentioned what makes you, what keeps you happy. 3 things or 5 things. Now, one step further, by doing what you will be happy. And one more step further, what kind of work will keep you happy? Okay. For example, would you be happy by doing some work sitting in front of computer in your own desk, isolated in a corner office in a multi-story building? Is that okay for you? Does that keep you happy? Are you willing to take that up? Or you want to work outdoor as opposed to this one? You want to work outdoor mingle with people, talk to people, interact with people. You know it, you will know it by yourself. Nobody has to come and tell you. But of course, later the scientific way of assessing your personality and all will complement that idea. But every one of us will know by ourselves. Maybe a little portion of them will find it difficult. So if you find out by asking these simple questions, what makes me happy, what keeps me happy, by asking these simple questions, these are common for all of us. We don't need any, we don't need any, go through any rocket science in this sense. List down what makes me, keeps me happy. 3-5 things. Now, by doing what, I'll be happy and how I do it. If we can get to that level, then I think you are getting a plan for yourself. That means you're making it more, your answer is going to be very clear for you. Okay, I will be happy if I work in the outdoors, definitely not in the indoors. So you have a lot of clarity. Now, outdoors, there are a lot of things you can do outdoor. You can be on a shop floor, you can be on a roadside or a street side. There are a lot of things to do, a lot of businesses to do. Not talking about minuscule things, but in a larger spectrum. Or you could be performing on a live stage, in the open air theater kind of environment, or you become a sports person, or you become a performer, right? So outdoor, not just limiting to yourself sitting in front of a computer or a desk doing a desk side job, right? So then comes what field. By 10-11 years onwards, you will start developing these interests. You will start exhibiting your abilities loudly, right? That will give clues. Now, as you grow up, I'm talking about for a youngster, which is at a secondary primary school level. But as you grow up, you would have seen yourself, you would have known yourself. If you're a 25-year-old, if you look back the last 10 years, what made you, what kept you happy, you will clearly know about it. Not just, let us not limit this only, which subject, by reading which subject I'll be happy. That is also one aspect of it, but that's not what we are talking here. By doing what you will be happy. Right now, as you further, link this question to any age group, it's a matter of, if you are a secondary school student, it's a matter of aligning your path clearly towards that. If you are a youngster, if you see a kind of, some misalignment, then see how you can, correct that possibly, by choosing a field or by choosing a type of work or a field of work. But as you grow up and then get to a mid-career, somewhere in 30s, 40s of that age group, if you feel that you are stuck, if you feel that you are not able to move forward, if you feel that you have been doing, life has been, fairly boring, right? Then I think it is a serious introspection, and then some fine tuning at that level, at that age group, would definitely help you to find answers and then make you happy for the rest of your life. So going back, what process, what procedure? I repeat, there is no one fixed template that will work for everybody. But the question remains the same, but the answers can change. It is quite obvious. So what makes me happy? And by doing what I'll be happy, and by doing it where I will be happy. Eventually, connecting, linking them, all of them together, that is this what I consider success? By doing this, do I consider that I'm successful? Right? And then I think you consider it successful, then link that, go back and link that to your goal. Okay, I want to earn an Olympic gold medal for my country. That's what, say, your goal. Now, even in which sport or in which game, what is that? You need to look at it that way. Now, there could be another, aspect, like basically they call it as a SMART goal, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, all that. I'm sure you must have, heard about this. So make it more specific. The specificity of what you want to do is nothing but your clarity. That's the simple process or procedure. Don't be vague, don't be generic. I want to be successful. Show me a person who don't want to be successful on this planet. Everybody wants to be successful, but the success criteria changes. So you got to define your success. You got to define, does it keep you happy or make you happy? Is that what you want to achieve? Now let's look at another goal. I want to feature myself in the Forbes magazine as 30 under 30. And by doing what? There are many things. There are a lot of things that one can do to get featured in that. I'm just giving a very broad set of examples here. But we could, when we talk one-on-one to individuals, we get to this, it becomes more individualistic. But I'm giving more generalized examples. Right? I want to earn Oscar award for my performance in films, right? But what in specific? Is it for music? Is it for your cinematography, or is it for your acting? Is it for your sound technical abilities as a sound technician, or as a musician, or as an actor, or for what specific area, or as a costume designer? What is it, right? What is that area that you want to specialize in? So that is the specificity you want to get to. And if you could put that on a piece of paper, it is as simple as that. Be it more specific, be it very clear for you. That will help you to reach whatever you wish to reach, or whatever you wish to get to, whatever that you wish to achieve. So that is how I would suggest as a simple process. We started off this conversation of having clarity of thought. Now take it to the next level of be specific about what is that you want to do. Like I said, the 12 to 14 hours of our time, we actually engage ourselves in careers, right? So that portion, if you could take up, I think the rest would automatically be compliment for each one of us in our lives. That's how I would, put this into perspective. And I think that makes sense. Mishra ji, over to you.
Yeah, I think very well, as always, very elaborate in your responses, but which is also very important. So I would like to mention here a couple of things. As Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, writing down 3 to 5 important things which makes you happy in your work life is so important, because we all have to be economically doing something for our sustenance. I think that's a basic need of any human being. So apart from that, it would also be helpful if one starts doing some kind of daily journaling or daily writing of some diary, where you actually start writing about your day and what happened, what you learned. And this is one. And number two, I think there are some books, especially I would like to mention about Edward Divino, who is known to be the specialist about thinking. He has written a lot of books. I think there are easily available on Amazon and other mediums. Even one can listen to the audiobooks as well. So do invest on that. I think that would also help. And with respect to especially, both for students as well as for early career or mid-career professionals, I think also there are scientific processes which are available where we can actually help you in terms of making that path of decision making easier for you. You'd be able to get to know what exactly is making you happy. I think if you can take that support, you should actually from a professional mentor or career counselor. So that is something which we can offer as a service to you. But as Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, I think every individual has to go through that own search of happiness, success, and excellence. I think that is something which one has to undergo for himself or herself. I just wanted to end with this one last question, which I want to really deep dive a little bit about your own journey, Mr. Ramakrishna, as to when and how you moved from a corporate life of nearly 20 plus years, and then you decided, okay, this is the new path which I want to take. And how was that process?
Yeah, so yeah, that's very interesting, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible because okay, so I'm sure the listeners by now they would have got a sense. I gave a little bit of a brief intro about myself in couple of our earlier talks, but nevertheless, just to bring it up again in short. So I spent close to 20 years in the corporate world working in the field of information technology. Right. Having spent almost like close to 20 years, it was like in 2015. It was like in 2015, I started feeling like, everything what I do, they say that a by hath ka kaam hai, right? You do it with your, at ease. Now, how much ever difficult project or complex project what I take up or an assignment I take up, it was happening. I mean, not just because it was happening out of sheer luck. It was just because of the effort I put in, or the experience I gained, or the team I have around me, or we have built it together. So it was happening. Then the question started: how long am I going to continue with this comfort? Because it was not challenging enough for me back. It was not putting me to test like it was, in my earlier years of my career. So that is one question which actually gave me as a shock, I would say. Okay, am I feeling too comfortable? Am I feeling too convenient here? So then I started seriously asking this question to me. Okay, looks like whatever I'm doing now has become more of a convenient to me. It is not challenging. So I'm becoming restless internally. So then I started asking me back these questions. What am I going to do for the rest of my career, per se? For the next 20 years or 25 years, whatever that active career, as long as you're physically fit. Am I going to continue in the same way? Or is there an opportunity that I can look for, not a job change necessarily. Is there an opportunity for me to look like, do something or completely different, which will suit me? So this is when, and this, believe me, for me, I was not quite comfortable to, going through any professional help. Most of us undergo this, because this is purely an internal dialogue. Unless it reaches to a stage, one may not feel comfortable in expressing it to the other person. So for about 6 months, this was a struggle I was, battling with me. Then I slowly started, realizing that no, this is not going to work out. I had to seriously answer these questions. Let me put them down on a piece of paper. Okay, what is that? That brought me here. What is that I wanted to achieve when I started this, career? I quite frankly, when I started my career in the field of information technology, it's pretty simple. I want to earn my bread and I want to be on my own. And that's the primary objective which I started with. And I had some personal, financial responsibilities as a family, right, which I have to honor. So that's what made me to get to that level. Now those are all fulfilled, and I created an identity for myself within my social structure, whatever I believe that as a successful. Now what do I do further? Then I started. Now what makes me happy? what keeps me excited? Then I slowly realized knowledge is one area that keeps me happy. Now, only knowledge, now what kind of knowledge? The knowledge can be in different, spectrums. So I started realizing the fact that, the next level of question, what kind of knowledge? So I always had this curiosity, and most of us will have this curiosity. What do people think, which they can't express, and how to find that out? And by finding that out, can we help people to, make something better for themselves? So basically, what do the other person think about me? Not all of them will actually be vocal about it, right? How do they perceive me? How am I exhibiting myself? So basically, what is going in my head? So long story short, the subject of psychology is what I decided that to invest time in. So gain knowledge. No, believe me, a computer science engineering background person spending almost many years in the corporate world now wanted to learn psychology. Now, that will actually keep me excited. Every day when I wake up, yes, today I'm going to read this topic or do this assignment or do this case study or, get this practical exposure. That's one. Now, two, I always wanted to have, to express myself in larger platforms, not opinions or judgments kind of thing, but influence, which I was doing in the, closed room meetings. Okay, so I identified knowledge is what will keep me happy, right? That's one key component. So now the second subject, besides psychology, the second subject is, I started investing my time in public speaking, and I chose Toastmasters as a platform to kind of gain, understanding about the nitty-gritties of that public speaking. Two things. Now, the third thing, very important thing, Mishra ji, you asked a very serious question to me. I may take a little more,
No
minutes
problem.
here. You should bear with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next question is, now this is all good. Now, knowledge you are investing, you will be excited. But what will you do with it? That's a big question, right? So at least for my, the speaking, the communication, I was kind of, a lot of thoughts in my mind that, I want to use that skill to influence people or to motivate people. So that's what one thought I have. And on the psychology aspect, I was not too sure, but that subject I was very curious, right? Now at the same time, as I started 2015, this question started in 6 months. So eventually in 2016, I started all this investing time into these. But what will I do next? How long will I continue? Say about in 2 years' time or 3 years' time, I will reach to a level of understanding on these subjects. But what is next? Then I started slowly convincing myself. Looks like doing the same IT job. Maybe your company may change, your location may change, your salary, you may see an uptick in your salary, or your role would be elevated to the next level. But fundamentally, the type of work, what you do will remain the same, right? Maybe new people, new environment. In the end of the day, you still have to remain in the information technology, sitting in front of a laptop, answering those 100 mails in that 8 to 10 hours time, answering those late night calls, working with the colleagues in US and Europe and other places. That will remain same. No, this is not going to, I think this is not going to get me, anywhere. I definitely don't want to do this. This thought was kind of making me restless. And I kind of came to a conclusion with myself. Believe me, I haven't told anybody within my family yet. Then I kind of told myself, okay, so looks like at some point I had to part my ways with this work. That is not too far. So that level of clarity. Now 6 months of struggle with, what to do, all that. Some of them may find it in just like this. Some may take a year. Maybe for to make it easy, you could go through a scientific, process of doing all that. So the next very, very important aspect is the financial position of yours. That's a very important aspect, that I would say, each one of us has to consider, unless you are born with a, silver spoon or whatever that is, you have a lot of wealth inherited, right? So I made a point to myself, okay, if I have to take a turn or take a realignment in my career with the new knowledge that I'm going to acquire, I have to settle down my finances. I can't let me or my family, be affected with it. So that's another key aspect that I kind of thought through and made it a point. This again in 2000, end of 2015-16, that time frame, I took up a goal for myself, saying that in the next 2 years I should be debt free. Later I calculated my finances. How much do I owe to whatever that I owe to anybody? Because all these this career will make you push you buy a house, and then once you're done with it, you go and buy another house. You buy a car and then you change that, and all these will put you into certain burden. It's not a burden, but basically you owe certain debt. They said no new investment, no new purchases for the next 2 years, and at the same time become debt free. So that actually vacated 50% of my space in my mind, which I can put it elsewhere. That's how this is the planning, how I did. And eventually in 2018, the day has come. I had to go for a mutual consent, as a separation with my work. And at the same time, put that knowledge, what you have gained, into use, right? So then I kind of, decided to be a career mentor, and then also look for, influencing and then motivating, whoever you do, especially the youngsters. So my redefined goal, or you want to call it a career or a path, is from being an IT professional to becoming a career mentor. In 2018, mid of 2018, I started this. Though psychology as a subject knowledge is not mandatory to be a mentor or a counselor, but that helped me to a greater extent in understanding. And then, of course, eventually, the Toastmasters, the public speaking knowledge gave me more confidence. The largest number of audience, as a group, I have addressed are about close to some 1,500. These are parents and students together, and I'm super excited and happy. And of course, when people like Mishra ji, work with them and then have share my thoughts. This is what it is. See, in IT, everybody is kind of you have certain position and authority. A group of some 40, 50 or 100 people will listen to you, whether they like you or not. they are obligated to do what you say, because it's an organization goal. It is being driven through you, and it percolates down to every team member. But here it is not like that. Yeah. Parent, if you're talking to a parent or a group of parents, people will raise, no, I disagree with you. Now, how do you deal with it? You are not in a comfortable, convenient situation. Even a student doesn't connect with you, or a youngster, early career or a mid career. He doesn't resonate with you. He doesn't nod his head when you're talking. Then how would you deal with it? How do you make sure that you actually resonate with them? This is how the professionally learning about the public speaking or the communication skills actually helps. So like, long story short, all that IT career, almost like close to 20 years, I would say, have been transformed into a mentoring role, but I would still consider myself very humbly. I'm still evolving. I'm learning a lot of new things. I'm still evolving. There's a lot in this space. Now you may ask the question, have you found your happiness? Have you found your success yet? Definitely yes. I found that answer for myself. But of course, later I went ahead and then validated what I'm doing is doing in a right way through the scientific assessments, to the psychometric assessments. And that also proved that yes, you have been doing it right. So that is why I said in the very beginning, each one of us will know the answers by ourselves. It is how smart are we, depending on it, you'll be able to find that answer. Some of us may find it in few days, some may find it in, like in my case, I took 6 months because I was not, constantly doing it, but I did it. Some may find it in, the very moment that they would find it, depending on it. I think that's how, that's a story of mine. And I'm sure Mishra ji and most of us will have these kind of stories, their own stories. And I know Mr. Mishra is also from a different background who has transformed himself in the recent, times into, career mentoring or, counseling. A lot of work he has been doing. I'm sure he would have his own story, probably, time permitting. I don't know if we can do it now. We should also know about his story on one of our conversations later on.
Yeah.
Over to you, Mr.
Yeah, thank you. I think, again, a very elaborate answer, but I think what's more important about this podcast is not to be really talking about only abstract, but also talk about concrete. And the concrete, I mean, is the real life examples like Mr. Ramakrishna Boddu. And I resonate completely with his story, actually, because I myself have gone through that process. Mr. Ramakrishna was fortunate to find the answer in 6 months. It took me 2.5 years to find that answer. So I'm happy with the way things have panned out. And I'm, like Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, I'm also learning every day. In fact, the reason why both of us are actually talking on this podcast is because of our intent or the growth mindset both of us have in terms of learning things, new things, and trying it. And in the process, I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers will actually get a leaf out of it. We may not be the most famous examples for transformation in life, but I'm sure we are people who you can resonate with, connect with. We are simple, ordinary people like you. And if we can do that in our lives, why not you? I think this is something which all of us have it in us. It is just the effort which is required to put in, and we can actually transform our lives and arrive at our clarity of life and arrive at our purpose of life. I think that is so important. And don't give up. I think the most important factor is if you're not able to find an answer which is going to be making you happy or which is your purpose in life, don't give up. Mr. Ramakrishna didn't give it up for 6 months. I didn't give it up for 2.5 years. But eventually, we have been able to find our answer. So I encourage everybody who is listening to this podcast or going to view our YouTube channel. I encourage all of you to go through that process. It is very, very liberating and absolutely giving you the right path in your life and make your life very, very purposeful, which is exactly what Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned, that we are all here with a purpose. And if that purpose is served, then we have lived our life. Absolutely. So with those words, any closing comments from you and we can end it?
No, I think you perfectly put that. I think it's a very, very nice topic, and I'm not too sure like how you pick up these topics, Mishra ji, but you come up with these very apt, relevant topics, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners would also get value out of this conversation. And of course, we are just a message away, or or an email away, in case if there is any further follow up, or anything that we could do to take it to the next level. We'll be more than happy. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And thank you so much for those who are going to view this. And once again, thank you, Mishra ji. And I think we're good with that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for being with us.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic and help you in your career journey.